Welcome to the Box Score Sports Podcast.
So this is the NBA exit interview for the Spurs. Let us know in the comments down below what you felt about the Spurs season. What do you want them to do moving forward? And don't forget to like and subscribe. The Spurs, they finished 62-20. They were the second team in the West, and they blew all our expectations out of the water by getting to the finals, but they did lose 2-5 against the Knicks. So let's first talk about some pros on this season. Clint, give me your first pro.
Yeah, I guess it's grouped as young guys, but I'll specifically start with like Dylan Harper because he started off the year not playing all that much. And then we ended the year with he probably should have played a lot more. And, his shooting looked a little better. Numbers aren't awesome, but I think you see the beginnings of like this guy isn't going to be, let's just leave him alone shooter. And his finishing is incredible.
I was going to say, yeah.
The way he finishes, minus challenging OG Anunoby, which will bring anyone's average down. But when he gets in there, you just feel like, all right, well, this one's going in. He got within 3 feet of the hoop. So I think to see Dylan Harper like ahead of, I guess, what you would progress, because most guards, the first couple of years, you just write off as like, oh, these are like a negative for your team.
Sure.
Not so with Dylan Harper. He really sped up. And I think, as we got to the end of the year, it became like, why is Fox playing over Harper?
Yeah, totally agree. I'm glad you said his finishing, but it was like he was also the only guy you kind of trusted in moments in the playoffs, which is kind of crazy. And in the finals game. So yeah, I think they hit a home run with him. Castle as well. I think those two guys are going to be a really strong guard tandem moving forward once they hand the keys over to Harper. So yeah, Castle. His effort level is pretty like amazing. He's a great defender. Obviously having Wembanyama behind you helps with that, but he also has a nice mid-range game. He's got to kind of develop his shooting a little bit outside the three a little bit more consistently, but in the playoffs, there's moments where he was hitting his three-point shot as well. So there was flashes in the playoffs. So I'm going to give Castle a pro along with Harper.
Yeah, his defense, Castle seems a little more erratic of the two, right? Like sometimes it looks great. Other times you're like, he can't quite get to the cup like Dylan Harper can. But again, that's a high bar. So Castle definitely made strides. His shooting still has to get there. Both of these guys has to get a little more clean because especially Castle, it's like really streaky. Like he had those games, you're like, wow. And then even some of the games in the finals, the Knicks were like,
keep shooting, baby. Yeah.
But again, these guys are young, and now they just got through a season going through the absolute highest level of basketball and seeing how quick it can turn on you with the Knicks in the fourth quarters.
Yeah, agreed. Give me another pro.
It still has to be Wemby, right? Like he kind of took third place in this, and it's
I was gonna the elephant in the room, Wembanyama. Yeah.
It's just his bar was already so high, right? Like some of these guys, their expectation is already ridiculous. So the strides they make are important, but maybe not as fast. And for him, it was just playing more. I think seeing him on the court, his defense is just, especially in the paint, just we haven't seen stuff quite like it in a long time because he's, as we talked about, he can move much better than a lot of 7'5" guys that we've seen in the NBA in the past. So having him do that, lock that down, play bigger minutes, probably needs to continue to work on that conditioning in itself, but he's competitive as heck. Dude puts it all out there, wants to win. We saw the feisty side of him, throwing elbows, getting physical. He's going to need that because we see the approach to stopping him is to push him around.
Yeah, agreed. Next 10 defensive player years, congratulations to Victor Wembanyama because I don't think anyone else is going to win it. I just think his defensive presence is so crazy, the way he can, and he is 7'5", but like you said, I think you hit it on the head when you're like, nobody moves at that. Nobody has moved anyway at that size that we've ever seen. So he has the ability to get from the paint to the 3-point line and like block shots. It's like that's crazy for a 7'5" guy to do that. So yeah, that's going to be a pro I think every year for the Spurs as we move forward with doing this. It's kind of it's crazy. Champagny I put as a pro. Yeah, they finally started him over Barnes. It kind of changed their team around a little bit, and I'll have to say like during the playoffs, he made some really big threes. So he's sort of a 3-and-D guy, but he's like a really good one, and he's shown that he can show up in the playoffs and hit those big threes. So I think that's a win as well because he's only like 25 years old. So
Yeah, I mean, I always like to summarize these guys. Like we just talked about it we talked about Tobias Harris, right? The ball gets thrown to him in the corner, and you're like, I don't know if this is going in. But through the whole playoff run, like the ball would get swung to Champagny, and you're like, why are you leaving him open?
right,
Like
yes,
and you know whatever the percentage was, I mean, he knocked down some big ones, even in the finals, and so to do that, big improvement that you can just count on this dude to knock down shots.
yeah, agreed. Carter Bryant also, there's something there. He's played some really good minutes. He was unable to play in the playoffs. I think he was just kind of too emotional. He couldn't handle the physicalness along with his emotions, but I imagine he's going to improve, and he seems like another hit by the Spurs organization, finding another player to help build around this team.
Yeah, they gotta work him in bigger minutes in the regular season because
Correct.
I think he felt the pressure of these big games, and it's really hard when you don't play a lot to come in. And he was doing the like, I'm trying hard, but then he got a foul called, and then he made a mistake, and then you really can't let a player compound on that in the finals or in the Western Conference Finals. So he was kind of in a rock and a hard place. So I hopefully going into next year, he gets some minutes. They let him kind of explore the studio.
Yeah, agreed. Any more pros for you?
You know, until the finals, Mitch Johnson kind of did a lot of good things getting this team together. Um, but again, young coach, young team. The finals weren't his shining moment, but until that level, he showed he's a pretty good coach.
Yeah, agreed. I think we can say they're like what 2 years ahead of schedule now, so we'll be seeing a lot of them in the future in those moments. So we'll see if Mitch Johnson can learn from that. Okay, any other pros?
No.
Okay, let's go to cons. Give me your first con.
Well, I think it kind of comes down to it kind of fell apart with De'Aaron Fox.
Yeah,
Um, you know, you when you do these, like it feels weird, especially when you get to the two teams that played last, to be like, oh, De'Aaron Fox, he was fine for the season, he was fine for most of the playoffs, but
he did have
they,
that injury.
yeah,
Yeah, it's just a disclaimer. Go ahead.
they kind of did they stood up for De'Aaron Fox after a couple bad games and said we're going to give him the ball, and they did, and it didn't work. And your last impression of De'Aaron Fox, the last few games of the finals, is not a good one.
Mm-mm.
Not that maybe it probably cost him a couple games, but whatever. But to have that, and now he starts the 4 years, $228 million
Yeah,
or
that's the
whatever
other
it is.
part.
It's like,
Yeah.
whew, that's where it becomes tough when you just saw Dylan Harper, you just saw Castle, and Fox should probably be your third guard that's about to make 50 something million a year.
Yeah, so 49 next year, 53 the following, 57 and 61.
Yeah.
So that's a big contract. And if the Spurs are going to try to get off it, they need to find a really desperate team in need of a point guard. That's what they're going to have to do. And it's funny because I think what also leads to this Fox discussion is just the fact that Harper's, again, like 2 years ahead of schedule. I don't think we'd be on top of Fox as much as we are if they didn't have another option to go to. I think that's part of the reason why we're on top because we saw Harper and like you got to play Harper more and they refuse to. But now it makes this thing between Fox and Harper and just weird. And yeah, I think there's moments you can start all three of them, but there's also moments where you got to just let Harper and Castle be your two guards and go from there. So yeah, it was definitely a con, especially the way it kind of fell apart for Fox and with that contract.
Yep.
I put one con, just Cornette's playoff like he was kind of like I thought it was a good signing. I think most people did, but like it kind of reminded me a little bit of like the Valanciunas signings for the Nuggets. Like you're really excited about it for the regular season, but then you get to the playoffs and you're just like, well, maybe that dude can't play playoff minutes, and maybe that's what we're finding out about Cornette when you get up to the toughest competition and you cannot provide any rest for your starting center more than like 8 minutes a game. It's rough for that guy. So. I just think that's a con because I expected a little bit more from him in the playoffs and we just didn't get it.
Yep, he really seems like at this moment like perfect regular season guy.
Yep.
Does all the right stuff, but against OKC, against the Knicks, like as soon as Wemby came out, and it's a little unfair to him, right? Because when teams are focused on it during the regular season, Wemby comes out and you're like, oh, cool, we can kind of do stuff. In the playoffs, though, Wemby came out and every team was like, cool, get to the hoop.
Yeah.
And you just get relentlessly attacked. But again, we talked about the Western Conference. That's not going to change next year if you're playing the Thunder, or even any of these other teams that improve. So yeah, he kind of disappointed when it mattered most.
Yeah, but we'll give him credit for maybe the block of his career and of the playoffs for the
Probably
Spurs
getting
too.
them to the finals. Right?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So give him credit for that. So anyway, okay. Any other cons?
My last one would just be like power forward. That's what I think they need. Maybe Carter Bryant can do it a little bit, but Champagne's 6'7". Keldon Johnson really he could kind of be like, again, another guy in the playoffs that kind of just disappeared.
He could have been both a pro and a con on our list, Keldon Johnson.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the way it ended, though, it ended up more like, all right, we can't play you that much against,
right.
The Knicks, right? So I think Con would just be kind of like they need a power forward. Again, Carter Bryant's also 6'7". Like in the starting lineup, it doesn't matter. But like you said, leaving Cornette out to dry, like if you could have a legit power forward that could shoot or be 6'10", 6'11", that could play pseudo center in lineups. I think that turned out to be a negative for them. I guess I would just put it as size instead of just power forward. Like size really became an issue for them.
Which is funny when you think of a team that has Victor Wembanyama on it. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I like it. Okay. Any other cons?
No.
Okay. Let's go to what we would have done different. What would you have done different if you were the Spurs this season?
I mean, until the finals, I think they kind of played it how you want to, right? They had a clear plan. They moved on from Harrison Barnes as far as starting. Like they phased that out. They phased in Dylan Harper nicely throughout the year, right? Built him up, got him playing. Castle really took a jump. So I don't know that I would change much. Maybe we talked about Cornette a little bit, having him shoot. Like he shot threes for the Celtics and then hasn't shot them since. But I don't see like a big systematic thing to me that they should have done different, because I don't think you want to make a big trade in season when you kind of don't know. Hindsight 2020, maybe if you could have got a forward as we talked about.
Yeah.
But again, it's tough to say and tough to look back and make that comparison. But I think the Spurs played it really good.
Yeah, like I wrote down nitpicks. Fox playoffs, I would have probably that's one thing I would change. Like just when you knew that he maybe didn't have it in the series, and it could be the injury, right? Let's be fair. Like maybe he didn't have the burst and the jump and the lift that he's normally has. But whatever the case may be, probably should have played Hyper a little more. And the only other thing I had is maybe play Wembanyama more than 30 minutes a game. 29, I think he was 28, 29. Just to get him right for the playoffs, like his conditioning up for the playoffs. So maybe they'll do that this season where they'll bump it up to like 33, 34, and then it won't be as taxing to go from like sub 30 to almost over 40 minutes a game. So that was the only thing that I wrote down. Again, nitpicks, but yeah.
Yeah, and that's tough with Victor though too. Like you don't want to play him too much and risk like a regular season injury, but you're right. Like if you keep it low, it is hard to then ramp all the way up to 42 minutes.
Well, did you feel like he got tired a lot, like in the playoffs? Yeah. So that's got to be part of the process then, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's like that fine edge of like,
Right.
hey, then he's gonna roll an ankle and be like, why are we playing Victor 35 minutes? You're like, well, he's got to be ready for 42 against the Thunder, guys.
Right, correct. Okay, grade. Give me a grade for them on the season.
5.
Yeah, me too.
It ended ugly, right? You hate to lose the finals where you lead for like 72% of the time, but lose in 5 games. But we didn't expect them to necessarily get there. We thought they would make improvement. They hit all the markers except for the final one.
Yeah, I agree. 5. I don't think anyone thought that they were going to reach. I think we all thought they were a year away from being like a year away from making the finals. Like so like get ousted in like the second round because they didn't make the playoffs before this, and then they were gonna maybe get to the final, the Western Conference final next year in the finals. So yeah, it's got to be 5 stars. Okay, off season has started, but give me what you think they need to do this off season.
Again, part of you just wants to bring the band back together. The development is going to take care of a lot of it. I would try to get some forward help, whether that's trade. Obviously it's probably going to have to be trade, but again, that's tough with what you have, and you have to be like, hey, who's the guy that you can go get that doesn't just totally throw off the vibe of this team? So I think, look, you probably just hope Carter Bryant can do more. Hope Champagnie can continue on, and let's see what next year brings.
Yeah, I agree. I put just like continue to focus on the young guys. Just continue to develop them. Like don't do too much. Like yeah, you can like maybe a forward to help around the edges, but like really I think a lot of teams in their spot gets a little bit over like eager and they can stunt the growth of their young guys by adding too much or doing too much of a course correction. I say kind of stay the course and just develop. Just focus on developing. That's what I would do this offseason.
For sure.
Long shot.
Long shot would be moving Fox.
Yeah, I have that
but
down
as
too.
we talked about with the 4 years, like the contract's just starting, you'd have to find a team, like you said, that needs a point guard. And of all positions, we just had a draft where like six of them went in the first, right? So none of those teams are like, oh yeah, we'll take De'Aaron Fox over a guy we just drafted. So, long shot would be if you could move him for some forward help or him and Keldon Johnson. But again, that's why it's a long shot. I don't think there's a forward out there available that some team is gonna ship to you for De'Aaron Fox's contract.
Yeah, it's almost gonna have to be like a 2-for-1 because that's a pretty big contract, right? Unless if it's yeah. So the only team, again, I keep coming back to the one team that I'm like, I think they still gotta make a move is the Rockets. They got so much depth, but I don't see them doing a big move for Fox. That contract is crazy. So that's my long shot too as well, is just finding somebody to take Fox off your hands.
Good luck.
Okay, that's our NBA exit interview for the San Antonio Spurs. Well, it's funny because even with that contract, they're probably going to make the next like 3 Western Conference finals and be at 2 finals. So it's not going to hurt them, I don't think, that much. We'll see. Anyway, thanks so much for listening. If you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below. Let us know your thoughts on the Spurs season and what they should do moving forward. Let's move on. Thanks so much for watching this clip of the Box Score Sports Podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to our channel. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter or X. And we'll talk to you guys real soon. See ya.